this training, very important training in poultry management. This is the Poultry Site TV. Poultry Site TV is a global platform for all farmers. This is where you get up-to-date information on how to run your poultry and agribusiness profitably. If this is your first time of being to this channel, look for the subscription button and click subscribe. Once you are subscribed to this channel, you always get our up-to-date information and upcoming videos. You will get the notification of every of our videos. You are highly welcome. I am your humble servant and the instructor, Dr. Leonard Charles Nwogu. Today is a new day in this channel. I've come your way once again with another interesting content. Management of breeding stock. Management requirements for males and females during rearing stage. To meet the requirements of male and female parent stock during each stage of rear and to prepare them for sexual maturity. This is the objective of this particular content. Growing the parent stock to the target growth will allow males and females to achieve optimum lifetime productive performance by ensuring that the birds grow and develop correctly. At different points in time, different organs and tissues will develop in that particular bird. Within each phase of growth, the flock manager should consider and be aware of the bird's priorities for growth at that time. Management and feed amounts must be adjusted to respond to the bird's needs. The principles of growth and development will be the same for both males and females, but absolute growth rate will be different because the males always grow faster than the female. Males and females are reared separately from day old to mating up to 147 to 168 days. That is 21 to 24 weeks of age. You must keep them separately in different pen. You don't join them together because they have different feeding and management system. But the principles for managing males and females in the rearing period are the same, apart from difference in body weight and feeding programs. The males form 50% of the breeding value of the flock and are therefore just as important as females. So the management of the males require the same attention to details as that of the females. Growing the two sexes separately using separate feeding and drinking systems ensure that growth and uniformity can be controlled properly, thus providing more control over body weight and fleshing. Let me emphasize more on this. In parent stock rearing, the management system and principle is entirely different from the conventional birds you rear and sell in the market. In parent stock rearing, you are not targeting body weight or egg production. If the body weight is much or heavier, they may fail. So their management system is entirely different. The feeding is also different. Chick management. Providing chicks with a good start is essential for the subsequent health, welfare, uniformity, and performance of the chick. Chick management should successfully establish the flock from day old by developing feeding and drinking behavior and providing the correct environmental and management conditions to adequately meet the requirements of the chick. Chick preparation at the hatchery. Only in circumstances where it is anticipated that the welfare of the birds will be challenged should any preventive procedures be undertaken during chick processing in the hatchery, because they require different vaccination and preparation right from the hatchery. That is why parent stock are always more expensive than the conventional birds you rear and sell, either for egg or for meat. In situation where birds' health is likely to be compromised, or where there is a local disease challenge or local legislation dictates, procedures such as vaccination may be required. Where this is found to be necessary, it is essential that consultation with a veterinarian takes place, and that vaccination is only completed by properly trained staff using the correct equipment. The necessity for any other processing procedures must be regularly reviewed. Processing procedures should only be undertaken after investigations into the bird's environment and management conditions have been taken place. Procedures undertaken during chick processing at the hatchery should be completed to the highest standard. Variations in the quality of chick handling can lead to welfare problems. Animal welfare regulations and recommendations are regularly reviewed and updated with regional variation. Regional and national regulations must be followed in parent stocking, because it is a bird or birds you kept that will serve all other birds within the entire nation or even outside the continent. Therefore, there must be planning, serious planning before chick placement. Planning before chick placement. The expected delivery date, time, and number of chicks should be established with the supplier well in advance of chick placement. This will ensure that the appropriate brooding setup is in place and that chicks can be loaded and placed as quickly as possible. If the stock is being imported, for instance, if you are dealing with imported parent stock, appropriate trained personnel must be available to supervise and liaise with the customs or the clearing officers to make sure that the birds are fastly cleared from the wharf so that the health will not be compromised. There is a local disease challenge or to meet any local legislation requirement, chicks should always be held in a dry, sheltered environment at the correct temperature for their welfare. Chick placement should be planned so that chicks from different age donor flock can be brooded separately. Chicks from young donor flock will achieve target body weight more easily if kept separate until the time of grading at 28 days or 4 weeks of age. Chicks should be transported from the hatchery to the farm in an environmentally controlled vehicle during transportation. Temperature should be adjusted so that the chick's vent temperature is held between 39.4 to 40.5 degrees centigrade or 103 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Note that the required temperature control setting can vary between different vehicle designs. Relative humidity should be between 50 to 65%. A minimum of 0.5 71 cubic meter per minute, cubic feet per minute, or fresh air per 1,000 chicks should be supplied. Great ventilation rate may be required if the stock is not air controlled and ventilation is the only method available to cool the chicks. You should know that the carriage of parent stock is not the same way because of the cost that is applied or the cost of production of the parent stock. At placement plan, the house setup or for the future grading procedures should be properly addressed. Farm preparations for the chicks arrival, for the parent stock chick arrival. 1. The biosecurity. Individual size should be whole birds of a single age and be managed on the principles of all in, all out vaccination and cleaning program are easier and more effective on single age sites with consequent benefit in birds' health and performance. The houses, the areas, surroundings, and all the environments should be properly disinfected before the arrival of the chick, so that if there is any impending infections or disease outbreak in that particular area before the arrival, it must have been controlled with the disinfectant or strong disinfectant that are applied. Good house cleaning practices should be adopted. The entire areas where the chicks will be kept must be well tested and bacteria free. The surroundings should be free from vegetation and be able or easily cleansed. Houses with a low biosecurity risk showing concentrate areas and no vegetation around should be well fenced in order to secure your investment. The house preparation and layout. For chicks at placement, achieving both correct air temperature and correct floor temperature is necessary for them. You preheat the house before placing the chicks to make sure that they adapt at the normal temperature, as earlier stated. The temperature and the relative humidity should be stabilized for at least 24 hours prior to the chicks being placed. A longer pre-warmed up to 48 hours may be required if external environmental conditions are cold or if it is the first flock in the newly built house. At placement, the environmental condition requirements should be within the temperature of 30 degrees centigrade or 86 degrees Fahrenheit, measured at the chick height in the area where feed and water are positioned. A floor temperature of 28 to 30 degrees centigrade or 82 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit and relative humidity of 60 to 70% is required. Prior to the chick arrival, litter material should be spread evenly to a depth of 2 to 5 cm. Where floor feeding is to be practiced after brooding, litter depth should not exceed 4 cm or 1.6 inch. Litter depth can also be reduced where litter disposal is an issue. Where a tiny layer of litter is used, it is essential that the correct floor temperature of 28 to 30 degrees centigrade or 82 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit is achieved prior to chick arrival. Providing more than 5 cm or 2 inch of litter can create a problem of litter movement, leading to chicks becoming buried, especially if the litter is spread unevenly. The choice of litter material is influenced by the cost and availability, but a good litter material should have the following properties: good moisture absorption, good bed comfort, low dust level so that it will not cause CRD, freedom from contaminants, consistent availability from a biosecure source. At placement and for the first 48 or 24 hours after placement, chicks should not have been travel more than 1 meter or 3.3 feet for access to water. Provide nipple lines if you are using it with an allowance of 12 birds per nipple or bell drinkers at a minimum of 8 drinkers per 1,000 chicks. 12 minimum drinkers or trays per 1,000 chicks should also be available. Water lines should be flushed prior to chick arrival. Flushing, therefore, may be required if there is a risk of biofilm built up. The water supply to the chicks should be approximately 18 to 21 degrees centigrade or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. After house cleaning and prior to chick delivery, the drinking water should be sampled at the source, at the storage tank, and at the drinker point for bacterial contamination. For more information, check our YouTube site on the Poultry Site TV. Any treatment of water with products that could encourage the growth of bacteria in the pipes should be followed by an effective water sanitation program. This program should not affect the best performance, even suspect, when they are in lay. Ensure that all chicks have access to feed. At placement, feed should be a sieve scrump, mini pellets of size of 2 mm in diameter, provided on supplementary feeder trays, 1 per 80 chicks, and on paper to give a feeding area occupying at least 90% of the brooding area. During brooding, the light intensity should be 80 to 100 lux in the area where the feed and water are positioned to encourage feeding and drinking behavior. The remainder of the house should be dim lights. In brooding the chicks, you can use the spot brooding. That is where the chicks are gathered at a particular spot with rings and are used to control them in that particular area. The layout for the spot brooding setup, which will be typically for maybe 1,000 chicks on day 1, is within the area of 4 square meter by 4 square meter. For layman, maybe a room of 14 by 14 will be enough to brood the birds, 1,000 birds for the first day, 1,000 parent stock birds for the first day. In a whole house brooding, there is no temperature gradient within the house. House temperature is more constant, and the ability of the chick to move to a preferred temperature zone is limited. The main heat source for whole house brooding can be direct or indirectly. Supplementary brooder might also be provided to enable them to get acquainted with the brooding system. The whole house brooding can also be done using part of the house only. In this case, the whole house brooding must be heated before releasing the chicks. Heating the whole house will encourage chick movement into the empty area of the house when access is given at about 7 days of the brooding management of parent stock chicks. Listen to the various important tips you need to know 1. It is important that all birds are handled in a calm and correct way at all times. All people handling birds should be experienced and appropriately trained so that they can handle the birds with the care that is appropriate for the purpose, age, and size of the birds. Be prepared.
It's a local battery cage.
Know what is coming and when it is coming.
It's an urgent sales, so
Plan placement so that chicks from different age zone flock can be brooded separately. Closely monitor the chick holding and transport environment to prevent the chicks from becoming chilled or overheated. Plan areas for upgrading. Provide chicks with biosecurity, clean housing. Control spread of disease by using single age, all in, all out housing. Follow a recommended hygiene program and have a procedure in place to test its effectiveness. Preheat the house and stabilize temperature and humidity at least 24 hours prior to chicks' arrival. Ensure cleanness of water and litter materials. Arrange equipment to enable the chicks to reach feed and water easily. Position supplementary feeders and drinkers near the main feeding and drinking system. When you unload the chicks, do that carefully and place them quickly in the brooder. Do not leave empty chick boxes laying around your brooding pen or even within the farm. Check feed, water, temperature and humidity after 1 to 2 hours and adjust where necessary. Achieve a humidity level of 60 to 70 degrees or 60 to 70% for the first 3 days. Maintain temperature during brooding as recommended. Adjust temperature according to the humidity and environmental temperatures. Make sure you monitor the temperature to make sure the relative humidity is achieved. Monitor temperature and humidity regularly. Check automatic equipment with manual measurement at all times to make sure that it is suitable for the chick. Establish a minimum ventilation rate from day 1 to provide fresh air and remove waste gases. Avoid drafts. Respond to changes in chick behavior. Closely and frequently observe chick behavior, adjust house environment, and respond to chick behavior instantly. Brooding is the first 7 to 10 days of a chick's life. Subsequent high levels of flock performance and welfare are dependent upon achieving high standard of management during this period. It is important to replenish feed and water frequently during the early stages of brooding, the first 3 days. The maximum daily feed allocation should be provided in small amounts, given frequently 5 to 6 times per day. This feeding method will avoid problems of food becoming stale and will encourage chick to eat. Open source drinkers, supplementary drinkers, and bed drinkers should be cleansed out and refreshed regularly, as bacteria can multiply rapidly in open water at brooding temperature. Supplementary drinkers supplied at placement should be gradually removed so that by 3 to 4 days of age, all chicks are drinking from the automated drinking system. For the first 2 days, chicks should be provided with 23 hours light and 1 hour dark. After the first 2 days, day length should be gradually reduced. so that it is down to a constant 8 hours by 10 days of age. I repeat, for the first 2 days, chicks should be provided with 23 hours light and 1 hour dark. After the first 2 days, day length should be gradually reduced so that it is down to a constant 8 hours by 10 days of age. In open-sided houses, daylight will depend on date of placement and the natural daylight patterns. During the early brooding, where chick movement is controlled by a brooding ring, the area contained by the rings should be expanded gradually from day 3 of age to increase floor space and improve feeding and drinking space. Actual increases in brooding areas should be determined by chick behavior, body weight gained, and feeding and drinking equipment. Rings should be removed completely by no later than 10 days of age. For instance, in brooding areas, day 1 to day 3
This is what I'm doing for a living.
needs
Can you
40
see?
birds
It's very
per
fantastic.
square meter,
So, if you don't mind,
or
I can build a day hold for you.
4.1 birds
Um,
feet square.
collect it as a contract. So,
4 to 6 days, they need 25
I will
birds
be so
per
glad
square meter, or
if you can work with us.
2.5 birds per feet square, or square feet. Day 7 to day 9, you need 10 birds per square meter, or 1.1 bird per square feet. Day 10, that is the final stocking density, is needed. Temperature and relative humidity should be monitored and recorded daily, and appropriate adjustment to the environment made in response to chick behavior to ensure that environmental conditions are optimized. The number of feeders and drinkers and the heating capacity of the brooder must be appropriate for stocking density to prevent adverse effects on performance. Based on environmental control, the humidity of the chicks or humidity of the chick kept should be appropriate. Humidity should be at least within the range of 60 to 70% in the first 3 days. Relative humidity within the house should be monitored daily using a hygrometer. If you neglect the use of thermometer and hygrometer in ordinary conventional poultry beds, you can't neglect them in parent stock chicks. If it falls below 50% in the first week, the environment will be dry and dusty. The chicks will begin to dehydrate, and action should be taken to increase the relative humidity. The relative humidity can be increased by using the meters or using a portable backpack sprayer to spray the wall with a fine mist. If increasing relative humidity in this way, care must be taken to ensure that excessive moisture is not added to the environment, as this will result in reduced litter quality and reduced bird performance due to evaporating cooling. The temperature is essential. The optimal temperature is for the chick health, and the appetite development should be maintained in both spot and whole house brooding system. The objective is to stimulate appetite and activity as early as possible, as chicks cannot regulate their own body temperature very well until 14 days of age. Provision of the correct environmental temperature and adjustment environmental temperature appropriately should be taken note of during the brooding in response to birds' behavior, and it is very, very critical at this point. A temperature guide appropriate for a relative humidity of 60 to 70% is given, and it is also needed for them for their well-being. With whole house brooding, particular attention must be paid to monitor and control house temperature and humidity, as the ability of the chicks to move to a preferred temperature zone is limited. With spot brooding type, temperature gradients are created within the house. Respective optimum temperatures are also needed for the chicks to perform very well. The interactions between temperature and humidity with the bears. The temperature experienced by the chick is dependent on dry bulb temperature and relative humidity. Bears lose heat to the environment by evaporation of moisture from the respiratory tract and by heat passing through the skin. At high relative humidity, less evaporative loss occurs, increasing the animal's apparent temperature. High relative humidity therefore increase apparent temperature at a particular dry bulb temperature, whereas low relative humidity will decrease apparent temperature. And if this is adverse to the bears, it will affect their growth. Temperature and humidity should be monitored at least twice a day for the first 5 days and then daily afterwards. Measurement of temperature and humidity should be taken at chick level. Conventional thermometer should be used to cross-check the accuracy of electronic sensor controlling automatic system. Ventilation without draft is required during the brooding period to maintain temperature and relative humidity at the correct level, to replenish oxygen, to remove excess moisture, carbon dioxide, and noxious gases produced by the chicks and possibly the heating system. Poor air quality due to under-ventilation at brooding may cause damage to the chicks' lungs, making bears more susceptible to respiratory disease because young chicks are prone to wind chill effects. Actual air speed at floor level should not be more than 0.15 meters square or 30 feet meters square. Any ventilation applied during brooding should not impact the bear's temperature. In summary, achieve a humidity level of 60 to 70% for the first 3 days. Maintain temperature during brooding as recommended. Adjust temperature according to relative humidity to achieve recommended environmental temperature. Monitor temperature and humidity regularly. Check automatic equipment with manual measurement at chick level. Establish a minimum ventilation rate from day 1 to provide fresh air and remove waste gas. Avoid draft. Respond to changes in chick behavior immediately. Thank you. Remain blessed and wait for the next content. This is the Poultry Site TV. The Poultry Site TV is a global network. It is a forum for all global farmers. This is where you get unlimited information, training, and updates on poultry and livestock business in general. This is a channel that gives you maximum support to grow your agri-business profitably. If by now you have not subscribed to this channel, look for the subscription button below and click subscribe. Once you are subscribed to this channel, you always get unlimited notification of our upcoming videos. If you have any question regarding this particular content, if anything is not clear to you, ask your questions, make your comments, and I will respond to them at appropriate time. Thank you once again for keeping your subscription intact in this channel. I remain your humble servant and the instructor, Dr. Leonard Charles Nwogu. You are highly welcome. Keep your subscription intact. Share the links to your friends, groups, platforms, and relatives. Let them know this channel. Invite them to this channel where they will get succor to their poultry problems. Thank you once again. Remain blessed till I come your way once again with another interesting topic and content. Bye for now. I love you all.